Back in the 90s, I was sure I was going to retire by the time I was 50, thanks to the collectibles I was buying at the time. That plan didn't work out, and let's look at 10 of them I thought for sure was going to lead to my early retirement. Adults collecting toys in the 90s, it really took off, and we were sure we're not going to make the same mistakes we made in the 80s when we were playing with the toys and throwing them away. We were going to buy them, leave them in the package, and retire early. Well, here's 10 things I bought in the 90s, and I thought for sure I was going to be able to kick back and relax. Not even 50 yet. Retired. Thank you, toys. Ooh. Hey, waitress, bring some more Shirley Temples. On me, for everybody. Let's start with number 10. Toy Biz's Rhino. Man, this thing was hot. Everyone wanted Rhino. It was hard to find. I can remember me and my buddy Russ going to a toy show in Atlanta, and he gave up. He bought one at a toy show for about $40. And I said no. But I was holding out hope to find it. On the way home from that very same toy show, we stopped at Service Merchandise. Oh, don't I miss Service Merchandise. Anyway, there was Rhino right on the peg, right in the front for retail price, which is probably about $6 or $7 then. I mean, this was the 90s. Not today, where it would cost you $20, $30 today, retail cost. But I bought it. Russell was a little upset that he paid double the price or triple the price. I don't know, I'm not good at math, but he paid a lot of money for his, but he got his Rhino, and we both said, hey, don't worry, in a couple years, we'll be able to retire, sit back on the beach, and laugh about the time we bought Rhino, and it was better than buying anything in the stock market, that's for sure. Well, it got released probably a few months later, and more mass release, I should say, and it was easy to find after that, and the sales for this thing tanked. And even if it didn't, it wasn't going to be enough to make us retire. But there was another figure. We were for sure, me and my buddy Rose was for sure we were going to retire on this one, because although finding one of them will get you a lot of money, we found a Rhino shitload. We found so many of them at Big Lots. We walked into Big Lots, piles and piles, and I'm talking about painted Invisible Woman. This was the first release of Invisible Woman. They went back and released a clear one. This one was painted, and it was going to be worth a lot of money. In fact, the guy that owned the comic book store in town told us if we found one, he would give us $20 per figure if we found it. Then we brought him to him. He said, I didn't think he was going to find that many of them. And he bought like 2 from us. And we thought, well, if we're getting $20 for this thing now, in about 20 years, we're going to get $2,000 probably per figure. Nope. Again, within the few months, although it was never released widespread, it was still rare to find. No one cared. And you couldn't hardly give this thing away. There was a Human Torch too. It's not on my list, but that came out at the same time. Couldn't even give them away. Ugh. But we knew without a doubt, an exclusive. That had to be something that's going to be worth a lot of money. Exclusives? You know that's going to be worth a lot of money. So me and my buddy Russ, we head to KB Toys at the mall every day. KB Toys at the mall every day. Oh, shut up with those dumb dogs in the front of the store that yap, and they do flips. Forget about the roller coaster penguins that would go down and down, up and down the staircase. We wanted an exclusive Wolverine Weapon X. Clickety cluckety claw. Oh, now this was the same figure that was released already, but this one was wearing green. They painted his clothes green, unlike the regular figure, and it was one of the first exclusives I can remember actually hunting for. I know they had exclusives before, like in the Star Wars line, stuff's only sold in J.C. Penney's catalog or whatever, but this is the first one that seemed like he was aimed for collectors. Had a sticker on it, KB exclusive, and we couldn't believe it. We only found one of each one. We bought it. We bought it at a regular retail price. It's probably about $5.99. It's not like today where it would cost you $25, $30. We was going to retire. I remember taking mine to a toy show. Was going to trade it for something cool. Had some offers. Never did. But again, within a couple of months, this thing was forgotten about. People was like, I'm not paying. That's just different color pants. I'm not paying that. And it got to the point where we couldn't even give this thing away. Couldn't even give it away. And what about Star Trek? Star Trek's collectible, right? Even at this time, the old Galoof Star Trek figures released in the 80s, they were starting to be worth a lot of money, or more money than a normal figure. So we were like, Star Trek Playmates, this is going to be worth. And we knew something. Girl figures are always worth a lot of money. Girl figures that you can't find at the store, we knew that was going to be worth something. Deanna Troi. I was like, I got to get Deanna Troi. Now, I was dating my soon-to-be wife, and then became my ex-wife, and the mother of my children, but she had a sister that was married to a guy that liked comic books and stuff, and somehow he stumbled across the Deanna Troi, and he didn't care. I don't know about you, but during this time when the Star Trek Playmate figures first hit, this Deanna Troi figure was hard to find. There was rumors that it didn't get released yet. Then it was rumors she was one in every other case or something. They were hard to find. They were going for about $60 to $70 on the secondary market. He had one, and I bought it from him for $20. Now, at the time, I was like, hey, I just want to buy it because I was into buying Playmate Star Trek. But I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not going to open it because I'm going to resell it, sit back, and relax. Because this thing is only going to skyrocket. It did skyrocket. Skyrocketed like a Saturn I rocket. Crashed to the ground and burned. It wasn't worth anything. Again, it was released in mass numbers after this. And easy to find. Easy to find. Now, most of this we've talked about toys, but toys wasn't the only thing that I said in the 90s. It's going to make me so rich. I'm going to sit back and retire. There were even comic books. Comic books. This is one you guys are going to admit you bought it too. The Death of Superman. And not only did I buy the Death of Superman comic, all the comic books are leading up to it. It was Justice League, and it was, I don't know, Adventures of Superman. That's what I was like, all different Adventures of Superman, Man of Steel comics, all kinds, all leading up to the Death of Superman. It was highly hyped, and I was like, this thing's going to be worth so much money. That's what everybody thought. Everybody buying this. Everybody was buying it in the black bag, and not in the black bag, the street edition with the barcode, not the barcode. It ain't worth crap because everyone knew to buy it and save it. That's the thing about the 80s toys. We didn't know to buy and save them. And while we're talking comics, I'm going to mix this one on the list together. Is Batman Breaking His Back. The Nightfall comics. I was getting one that had, again, barcode, non-BOCAR, street edition, non-street, whatever. I was buying every one I could leading up to it, getting his back broke. I even bought the one that was from Nightfall. It's like has Bane on the very last panel, but it's not considered part of the Nightfall series. It has the Nightfall logo on it. That one's going to be the one everybody wants. That's the one everybody don't know what to get. I got it. They ain't worth crap. I'm going to be honest with you. Didn't get to retire. Sorry, Batman and Spider-Man, Superman didn't get to retire. What about Star Wars? I knew Star Wars was going to set me. Star Wars was going to help me, especially if it's something rare, a rare variant. I mean, I've watched the Blue Snaggletooth. We're talking, vinyl cape, cloth cape Jawa. So in the 90s, when there was a variant, I had to find it. What about Boba Fett? One of the hottest Star Wars toys you could buy. So Boba Fett and a variant together, it's gonna be a gold mine in a few years. And this one was going for crazy money. This one was Boba Fett, but he had a half circle. Now I think there was a no circle and a complete circle in his hand, but everybody wanted the half circle. They were going for about $50, $60, I think, at the time. Well, I found some. My buddy Russ found some. We had about 3 or 4 of these. I don't know. Even if I saw them going online on the news groups and in Toy Shop magazine, going for or being offered, I never could sell it. I could never get no one to pay me. I had one guy offer me $10 for it, but that's about as much as I could do. Now, going back to comics, let's go back to comics for a second. I thought for sure this one was going to be it. This is the one no one was talking about. This is the one I just walked into a comic book store and said, what is this? Deathstroke, the Terminator. I was like, Deathstroke, is it a DC superhero or is it a Terminator like from the Terminator movies? I didn't know, but it said issue 1. And I knew in my collector head, issue 1, that means it's going to be worth a lot of money. This is the first issue. And it said special collector's edition on it. It was screaming for me to buy. And this is when I learned a lesson. Anything that says special collector's edition, anything that says it's aimed for a collector, it's not going to be worth anything. Now I know you can tell me in the comment section, what about those Star Wars vintage boxes released in the 80s that had collector series on it? Okay, those are worth some money. But for the most part, if it's aimed to a collector's edition, collector special, whatever it is, it's not going to be worth anything. But I bought this, didn't know who Deathstroke was. I just knew, I knew who the Terminator was. And I bought this thinking issue 1, the premiere of Deathstroke, it's going to be worth millions. I think it's worth about $2. I don't know. It's probably in the dollar box. Oof. What about a toy that doesn't sell at the stores? You know that's going to be worth a lot of money, right? This was the peg warmer of the 90s. Penguin Commandos from the Batman Returns line. That's right. They were just penguins with rockets on them. And these things were everywhere. These were the Landos of the 90s. I mean, every store you walked in had a ton of these. And I thought, no one's buying this. 10 years from now, people's going to want the line. No one bought this, so it's going to be worth a lot of money. So every once in a while, I would probably use my Jeffrey bucks because I had Jeffrey money to spend. It wasn't like spending real money. Any collector of the 90s knows about Jeffrey bucks. We walked around with a gangster roll of Jeffrey bucks in our pocket. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, you wasn't collecting in the 90s, or you didn't have a Toys R Us in your town. But anyway, I bought a couple of these. I think I end up throwing them in the trash when I moved because you would have to pay someone to take them off your hands. They're horrible. I don't know what I was thinking. And what about the Tick? Remember that toy line? The Tick. I thought Tick was very popular. Did a video about the Tick. You guys really didn't care about watching that one too much. Didn't even click on it. You're like, oh, the Tick. Oh, I'm not even watching that video. Tick toys. But anyway, I like the Tick. And man-eating cow. I had to get this one. It's an action figure. It was a cow. And he had a foot in his mouth. I'm like, this is the funniest figure ever. And it was really, really hard to find. Found one. Again, thanks to KB. And I held on to it. Someone offered me $20 for it. I said, no, thank you. Someone offered me $70 for it. I said, no, thank you. If I'm getting $70 for it in the 90s, I'm getting $75,000 for it in the 2000s. Well, it ain't worth nothing. It was worth maybe $10, I think. You put it on eBay, you probably couldn't even sell it. Well, let's look at two more. It was guaranteed I was going to retire early. This one you've heard me talk about before, and I still have it today. You can have it for $10,000. XMen Iceman. This thing was the first toy I can remember that was really being hot. I was working at Toys R Us at the time, and I was keeping them all in the back. Don't worry, I wasn't selling for jacked up prices. If a collector came in, I didn't want some kid buying it. If a collector came in, I knew he was looking for Iceman. Got him in the back for you. Yeah, it was like crack to toy dealers in the 90s, or toy collectors, I should say, or dealers. Oh, I didn't want to sell it to a dealer, but if I thought you were a collector, I would go in the back and get it for you. Whew. This thing ain't worth $3, I don't think, right now. But now, the one that I was for sure, this is the one that's going to make me kick back. This is the one, because if there's any of them was a gamble, this is the one I thought it's not a gamble. In fact, at a toy show, I was offered $500 for this figure. And again, I thought if it's $500 now, it's going to be $5 million by the 2000s. It comes from Star Trek, and I still have it today. I should have took that $500. This is Thomas Riker, not William Riker, not Will Riker, no, not at all. This is Thomas, his clone twin. It's the same figure. It even has this thing ripping the shirt, but they painted over it. Now, this thing was hard to find. This thing was impossible to find. Found it at KB. But, hold on now. My foot number says, and I know the camera can't see it, but it says 0001. At first, I thought I had 1,000, and I flipped it over. I said, no, I can tell by the way that one is. This is 0001. I've got the original number 1. I can remember I've got it, and I handed it to Russ. I said, Russ, look at this foot number. Look at this foot number. I just want to make sure I'm not seeing it wrong. And he looked at it. And said, oh, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. He looked at it, looked at it, looked at it. And maybe I'll try to get a good picture of it for the video. He was like, dude, that's the number 1. So I had an extremely rare figure at the time, number 1. Took it to a toy show because I wanted to trade it for something cool, but I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it. Guy said he would give me $500 for it. The Thomas Riker, without a low number, is at the time they were going for about $100. Now I think they're going for $5, if that high. And I reached out to Playmate sometime in the early 2000s and wrote them and said, I got number 1 right here. And they said, no, you don't. No, you don't. Stop being a liar. Who do you think you are? The next Doomcock? I said, no, I do. I've got it. They said, no, we keep all the number ones. We've got all the number ones put up, hanging on their wall, their collector's room or something. And I must have an error number because it looks like a 1 to me. Again, I'll try to get a picture of it for the video, but it looks like a number 1 to me. I don't know about you guys, but you might want to give me $500 for it. I'll give it to them. But I held on to them just in case because I thought I was going to be retired by the time I was, I just turned 30. Okay, maybe I turned 50.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.